Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Cardiff City World, where unusual host is hosting on Friday Night Live. And I can already hear that Amy has entered the chat. She's very loud outside, very much raining to death. So apologies if me and Aaron tonight are in 420p, but you're just going to have to bear with it. Let's see if everyone's got internet still. No, it's not that bad yet for me. But yeah, joining me as usual now, should I say, is co-host Aaron. How are we?
I'm very well. Yeah, enjoying the great weather that's we've got at the moment. How about yourself?
Yeah, just like colds. Colds probably like the virus going around again. Who even knows? Honestly, it feels like all of us hosts are kind of gone down with something, or most of us at one time. And fair play to Sai and the rest of the hosts as well. Still pushing through the content, sometimes twice a day, even though it's been kind of painful and hard for us. It shows the dedication with everyone on board here. And it's just, I just want to say, like, I know Sai posted in one of our other chats where we just had the host, and just to say, not to say too much, but he just said how much he appreciates it. And no, I mean, it's really nice that we got such a dedicated fan base as well. And yeah, as much as we're all having sniffs, coughs, sneezes, and all that, still pushing through it. And I'm just knackered after all now, if I'm being honest. So I just want some good Cardiff results to get me back in a good mood, to energize me. What better way to start than to talk about our 1-0 loss to Burton? I'm sure, obviously, you and another host have already discussed it. I didn't actually, I was working, so I couldn't see the match again. It's funny, it seems to be whenever I work, we tend to lose or get draws, which seems to be a pattern there. So the lesson from that is don't work as much, we should win. But yeah, what was your initial reaction? Let's say, obviously, now it's been a few days to digest. What's your initial reaction when we lost to bottom of the table, Burton Albion?
And to be fair, I was shocked. I thought that we did more than enough to win the game, and a silly mistake, creates that moment that we concede from. I think, there's a lot of learnings we can take from it. We can talk about individual players and the team not playing great, but we still did enough to win that game, to be fair. And, any other day we've put 4 or 5 goals past people, but yeah, again, one sort of defensive error, and we've conceded what I'd consider a very shocking goal, and we're chasing our tails. But you've got to learn from these experiences and bounce back. The reality is the facts. We've lost 2 at home. Now, what do we change? What do we do differently that turns it around? We've got to trust what Brian's doing. You've got to trust that the players. I wouldn't have sort of criticised the team selection, but tomorrow's the opportunity to make it right.
It's funny that it's 2 home losses in a row, and it's like you think, right, you'd probably struggle more going away, especially the youngsters. They're not used to playing at grounds that are a bit small. Well, maybe playing at grounds that are smaller, but have a lot more. When you get to the lower leagues, you get the even more dedicated fans who would pay an arm and a leg just to see their team play. And it's like certain teams, I think they rely on their, I don't want to say hostile atmosphere, but you know what I mean. It's like that really sort of like loud atmosphere, which I wouldn't say Wigan brought necessarily, as it seemed like the stadium was half empty, if not more. But I would have thought maybe more the away games would have struggled with, just the constant traveling. There's not many nearby teams, especially in this league now. I mean, it would have been Bristol Rovers here and there. Do you think, though, that it could be down to a lack of maybe complacency? Is it more complacency when it comes to home, because thinking, oh, it's all right, we're the home team and we can be a bit more patient? Or do you think it's some other reason why we can't seem to just, click it in the last 2 games? Or is it something else?
I think my opinion, especially when you're looking at when Cardiff City go away, teams are more trying to attack us, so there is that space and that opportunity. Whereas at the CCS, it's more of a defensive unit.
Oh, bear with us. Aaron's reconnecting. It's got to be that storm, Amy, guys. Got to be might have to take over just until Aaron reconnects, but not looking good just so far. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's just me. There we are. Aaron's reconnecting now. Let's just add him back in.
Apologies. I think
you are.
Storm's playing funny beggars, always fed up with my voice. So basically, I was just sort of alluding to, I think when we're playing away, teams are on the sort of front foot and trying to attack and get at City, whereas more, at home, it's that they sit back, we're trying to penetrate and break down, and we're still learning a style of play. We are creating golden chances, though. We're in and about, and these are not just half chances. They're, some of the misses I probably could have put in, to be fair. So the thing is, we are creating them. It's just we need that conversion now.
Do you think this is a confidence issue, or do you think it's more of an ability? If you had to pick one,
confidence. I don't. Players, they don't become poor overnight. We've got a very good squad, especially at this level. We've got people that can score goals. It's just little moments, or it's refereeing decisions, it's key decisions. It's just little bits that are impacting us, to be fair.
Yeah, it's it for me, right? And I didn't see the game, and I can only go off of the extended highlights, which, if I'm being honest, is just the highlights but replayed twice more, because that's what it was on Cardiff City TV. Not to sort of slam them on that, but it was a lot of that. But from what I see from our members chat as well, and if you're not a member, please do become one. It's just, I find that we tend to want to play the style of football that would suit, a Premier League side or whatever, when it's that very patient build-up. It's almost too smart for our players, and not to say that our players are thick in any sense. I just think, especially with the amount of youngsters we got, these youngsters are made to play fast-paced football, and made to, play, not say counter-attacking football, but just to, take more risks, have a go. And I feel like we were very reluctant to have shots at goal. We're very reluctant to cross the ball in the box. And this is why I say, crossing the ball in the box, especially League One level, there's going to be some people who get weird deflections. Defenders will panic. The goalkeeper doesn't know where to come out or stay in if you get the angle of the cross right, And I feel like it shows that our crossing ability just isn't there for almost all of our players. And even our more talented players who even take free kicks, I still think probably not the best at crosses. I think the best cross I've seen so far is Omari Kellyman. And it says a lot, because I think he's taken one free kick so far and played very limited minutes. And, I am really excited to see what happens when he comes back, when he comes fully fit into the team. Same with Alex Robertson. But I just feel like our weaknesses show when we have moments where we divert from the plan. And I just get a bit concerned. It's still early days, but I get a bit concerned, and we're always trying to look for this perfect opener, this perfect set series of passes into the box. When League One teams, especially playing five at the back a lot, they're not going to let us just effortlessly penetrate through the middle. I think there is times when that can work, but at the moment, it is very frustrating to watch.
Something else to add to your point as well is that when teams are coming to the CCS, it's their cup final, isn't it? They up it that extra 10%. They've got a point to prove. They're in the shop window. They're playing against one of the better teams in the league, and these things are going to happen. They're only human beings. There are going to be moments of errors. There's we were always warned when we played this style of football that there was going to be opportunities of mistakes and stuff. But, to their credit, they're still persevering with it. They're not reverting to type. They're still playing the same way. They're still having that same sort. They're all believing in what Brian's setting out to do. And it's one of those moments when you're winning, it looks great. When the results are not going your way, you know what? It looks shit, doesn't it? But I think the reality is you just gotta keep churning forward. Results are going to come. Saturday, fingers crossed. It's going to be another positive result, and we can all be back on the Brian Barry Murphy train. But I'm watching the games and I'm not concerned. It's not as if we're not creating chances. That'll be when I start to worry, and I'm not noticing that at the moment.
Yeah, it's so early days. I think it's very easy for Cardiff fans to be hypercritical for a start. I am one of them. I will admit. I do expect a lot from them, especially the talent we got in our squad. But I will say is that there was not much time that Brian Murphy has actually spent with the squad. But there was almost no time at scene before we went on our Spain trip, and these players, whilst a lot of them played in the academy together, they haven't really played a lot of men's first team football. This is very new to them still. And to think that we've had a flying start as we have, I mean, we've been the best. We were the last team to be unbeaten before we, obviously lost to Bradford. I mean, the second team to do that was Bradford City. Is it City or Town or why not County? I don't know. I think it's Bradford City.
Bradford City, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't disrespect them, but I think they were second place in terms of being unbeaten, and then after that was like Doncaster and all the rest. I mean, Luton Town, I think they lost within their first 2-3 games. I mean, they haven't had the perfect start that everyone thought they had, and I keep bringing that point back up because it's not fair to sort of like pitch your expectations after 8 games still. I mean, I'm not sure how many games we've played now, but we've played enough games to kind of see, okay, this is probably what we're going to have to expect. But I think I've seen enough now in Cardiff City to know that we can push for promotion, but it's not going to be the classic Birmingham. It's not going to be a pay to victory. It's not going to be like a one-loss season. It's just not. I mean, that's already out the window anyway. But I think it's important that we get these losses out the way early now, so that we have time to fix them. The worst case is, you have a great start to the season, you get a bit complacent, you get a couple of injuries or something else happens, and then you have a late push to the end, and you're in a position now where you can't afford to lose. And that's what we don't want to have. We want to learn our lessons early whilst the squad's still growing. And then whilst we still have another window in January as well, not to forget. I mean, the fact that we've only signed 3 players and we've let go about like God knows how many is, it's insane to think that we are in the position we are in. And again, we had that game in hand. That was the game in hand. And of course, it's classic Cardiff City fashion to lose it. But like you said, we had many chances to win that game, no doubt. But before I forget, before we move on, I just want to mention the recent event, Sean Morrison event. It seems like it's selling tickets really fast, like hotcakes. I'm sure you want to bring up a few points about that.
Yeah, so ticket sales are in par with Cavs event, so they're pretty much sold out now. So there's only a couple of odd seats left. Also secured 2 event sponsors for the night, which we'll be announcing in the coming week. And there's a couple of other little bits sort of going forward as well. So no, some really good nights. We're also going to be putting together some early questions as well. So if people sort of have any sort of questions for Mozza, start sending them in there slightly earlier. And we're going to sort of correlate and create something with that as well. So no, looking forward to it. It's going to, was it 3 weeks? Another great night. Another night out. Evan unfortunately can't make it as well, bless you.
Yeah, I will make one on, don't worry.
Mate, there's enough coming up, I tell you that.
Me as the guest then, because it'd be that rare of me appearing. So, but no. I'm sure it'd be great.
It was really good. So I had lunch the other day with some former Cardiff City players and of probably legend status for goals in cups and stuff. And it was really nice to share their feedback on our events, and nice to know that they're watching the channel and we're sort of reaching all areas of fans, which was really great to hear. And they're talking about coming to these events now, which is fantastic, and mixing with the fans and the people that we do it. We do it because we love these sort of things, and we're able to share these moments, aren't we?
I just think about it now, right? I can't think of many other clubs, even at the Premier League. Okay, let's exclude Premier League just for a bit, because I think of Arsenal TV and Liverpool and all that. But was it the Redmen? I think it was. But I don't know of many other, decently successful fan channels for football clubs. Obviously I don't go searching around for it, but it does occasionally pop my feed. I get Luton Town, and I think it's Middlesbrough. But I go searching. I think there's not many that have like such a big of like a structure as we do. Like I feel like we put so much thought into our videos, and we don't just sort of like post whenever. We actually have like a system going, and to think that we have people that are close to the club as well, that watch it. I mean, there's no secret by now. I'm not going to go into specific names, but it's just so nice. And the fact we can get like guest appearances on here as well, like the recent guests have been on. I mean, Christ, Omari's interview I thought was a massive one as well, and that's just to pick up one random example, and it's the fact we get these people on even just one episode. And again, not even that, you have the Cardiff City phone in and all this stuff as well. We have our own members show. I mean, it's crazy to think how far this channel's come. and we're over 2,000 subscribers. So
yeah, what sort of shocks me when I sort of joined the team was 6,000 subscribers. We're hit, since January the 1st, we've hit over nearly 500,000 views. And all these people give us that that foundation to be able to do what we do, because it creates that network for us. It gets professional coaches, footballers, people in that sporting world wanting to join and wanting to share their stories, because they trust the network, they trust Si, they trust us guys, and they trust the fan base, and it's really good that we can provide a player where these players can sort of tell their stories, and in return, as fans can listen to it. It's been an eye-opener with some of the stuff they share, but what? It's about being a football fan, isn't it? Cardiff City is more than a club. It's an institution of sport for us, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a full-time job for everyone, even just watching them play in the best way possible. I just want to jump in. Sorry, I seen that Paul has become a YouTube member. Congratulations! I thought you were already one, like Jonathan points out here. Maybe he was the Patreon member, but either way, guys. I mean, like we just talked about all this now. Again, what's not to love and what's not to be a part of? Again, for the price of like a cup of coffee, if not less. Becoming a member is just it's so cheap, and again, to think of like how much people pay for Netflix Premium and everything or whatever, like this is a fraction of that price, if that. And again, it just means exclusive access, to different shows that we have on the channel, just dedicated to the fans, and and early access to live tickets and all this stuff. And I know we're promoting our stuff, but this is all made because of you guys. And again, I just want to say this podcast is going to be entirely because of that. But I just think we just hit a great milestone, especially with 2,000 subscribers a while ago we hit. And yeah, look, I think especially it's funny that this channel is growing as well as I feel like this club is as well. I feel like we haven't scraped the surface yet. And I feel like we are moments or games away from things clicking. I feel like we are still, even though we just lost the 2 games at home, the reaction we had after the loss to Bradford with a 2-0 victory against Burnley and then beating Wigan, that wasn't a fluke or a mistake. That was Brian Murphy giving them a kick up the backside as they need in the best way, in most productive way. And it's just nice to see that reaction. I think it's just there's a little bit of like you said, there's a little bit of reverting to type now and again. I think because of how long Cardiff City have been deprived of playing proper football, I think it does sneak back in. You see the old tendencies of wanting to just pass from the back, but I do still see him buy into this plan that BBM's building. Let's say. And again, let's not forget he's on a 3-year plan as well. He's on a 3-year contract. Not to say he's going to be here all 3 years. I hope he is, and hope for longer. But like when's the last time that happened? I think it was Malky Mackay, was it?
Yeah,
it was.
Yes.
Like 14 or so years ago or something like that, and that's crazy to think. But yeah, anyway, guys, let's quickly go. Let's go to comments. Aaron, I'm not sure if I had anything else to say there. I don't know if you were going to jump in.
No.
Awesome, right? But yeah, evening all, guys, as well. I've left the comments pile up a little bit. You're all coming in now. Storm Amy's calmed down a little bit, so let's go through some of these comments whilst I'm in 720p, I think. Let's see. Evening, Craig. Look forward to tomorrow's game. Must be more clinical in front of goal, a bit quicker in and around the box. Get some service to Salech, 3 points up the CCFC. Yeah, what was that chance that Salech had with Burton? Was it disallowed because of offside or because of a foul or something else?
Well, I think he got they give a foul that was non-existent. I think, from what I remember, as Brian said, he went to the near post. He sort of turned the guy slipped, and he's disallowed a really good goal. I think that's the whole thing with Salech. And I think things like that are getting on his game, aren't they? I think between the dodgy refereeing decisions, whether he's being kicked, whacked, or goal was ruled out, I think that's probably getting him down a little bit, isn't it?
He's literally the next Kiefer Moore of like just constantly getting picked on just because he's tall and strong. I just genuinely feel like the game does not serve anyone over 6'3" very well. I just don't get it. I feel like Salek's been very unfortunate. Look, you can say, well, I think people are a little bit harsh in terms of saying he should have put his chances to bed. And I didn't see all the highlights, obviously. The 2 headers, I can understand. The first header, I think he's just focused on getting on target, but he does hit it straight towards the keeper. The second one, this is 50-50 again. But I think he's still adjusting to this new league. Again, like when he joined our club, we were saying about how unpredictable and how different the Championship is to other leagues. Then you drop down to League One, and it's just completely different again. I mean, it's just that much more physical, and people get away with murderous calls because, you know, especially a team like Burton Albion or Wigan, you know, they've been around League One for a fair bit of time, so they kind of know what they can get away with. And it's, again, like, you know, officiating has never been amazing. Like, no one ever goes, you know what, that ref was really good, unless you win 6-0, obviously. But it's always going to be a case. But I find, especially for like lower English tiers, it's
I was going to say, I think the refereeing decisions though are very, very evident. That's the problem. You know, these are really, really big decisions that, you know, they're missing. And I get there's a level, you know, down from the Championship, but sometimes you can't help them. Some of the penalty calls that are not given, you know, the penalties against us, majority of them have, you know, just have accepted it. But when you see some of the calls against us, they're bonkers, and you just wonder, like, what's going on. You know, we'll criticize players when they're making mistakes, but sometimes the referees are untouchable, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's two teams that just want to enjoy a good game of football.
Yeah, to be fair, like, and I say, like, I rarely call refs bias, but I do call them out if they are poor, because I know I try my best to distance myself from the team I support for us, just to figure out for the first 10 minutes or so what the ref is like. I noticed the one for Wigan, I think he let a lot go. He just kind of like let people get away with almost murder, but then it kind of changed towards the end. Then, but like I found with with a lot of other games we played, they call in everything, and like it's tiny bits of contact which you can't have. And I guess the one protection is saying, oh, they have to control the game so fights don't break out, blah 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 blah. The problem is, though, you have the alternate view, which is that if you're calling everything, or you just, you know, not calling the obvious calls, I mean, you're probably going to start fights anyway. But that's the thing. It happened with the Swansea game.
And to add to that point, you're absolutely right. I think also a referee's job is to protect player safety. Some of those challenges that have been put in that league, you know, you look at I know it was in the friendly, the Robertson tackle, the incident with Kpakio, the incident on, you know, Salech. They're putting players out for weeks, you know, and it's scary, you know. I get there's an element in these sort of games of that, but you don't like to see it. Do you know what I mean?
I think he was one on Wintle as well, or Wintle was complaining in the Stockport game where he kind of just like got cleaned off his feet, no attempt to take the ball whatsoever, and you just see Wintle just screaming at the ref, just looking at him like the most confused thing ever. And you know, I know he can be one for having a bit of mouth, but I tell you what, I was as shocked as him. Like, and I mean, look, at the end of the day, like we say, the better team will win anyway. But at the same time, it's like with the style of football we play, it is risky in itself. We think that this possession football, being dominant with possession, is great, and we think that it's safe. But the problem is that if you don't convert your chances early with this kind of style, all it takes is a referee to call a penalty the other way, like it happened with Peterborough, the first game of the season, like it happened with Stockport. And, you know, we were, if I'm going to say, we were a bit lucky to get equalised in the end, but I would say it was deserved draw in that. But this is the risks of playing that patient play. It's like, what if those chances don't come?
Well, Burton was nearly 80% possession, wasn't it? And one mistake and a ping pong at the moment, and you lose the game. But
yeah, I forget we got through one comment so far, but that is a really good point to bring up. It's just the fact that possession football is a risk in itself, but no kind of football is, you know, immune to its deficiencies. But I've always quite liked the counter-attacking style, just because it's the most exciting to watch, but it's also equally the most stressful to watch when you don't have the ball. So, but then again, you can say it's like watching paint dry when you just pass from the back. So that can be stressful in different ways. So there's no winners here, is it? But Jonathan said Wrexham 1, Birmingham 1. That was a while ago now, so it could be a different score. Please do update if you're still watching, John. Even JT, BBM reluctant to change his Man City lifestyle when losing is becoming a concern, even in the stadium. Oh, sorry, my God, I can't speak. Everyone in the stadium knew we had lost when Burton scored. I mean, that's kind of like you kind of just sort of like accept that you're just waiting for that point. It was like the moment we got relegated. For me, it was like, oh, I finally got clarity. There it is. I know for certain now. I feel like the longer we go playing this style without scoring, even though we might create chances, it does kind of make you feel like, oh, we're probably going to lose 1-0.
Yeah, I think adding to that, I think having spoken to Brian on many occasions, I think it's about trusting the process. What he wants to do is empower the players that this is the way that we play, and it comes good. It happens. You keep knocking and knocking and knocking, and eventually it comes. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes there needs to be a plan B, there needs to be an alteration. But even that game, we should have been miles ahead, or we could have called a goal back. There are moments, and we don't discuss that. But I was never a fan of that style of football, but having sort of watched it a bit more and sort of listened from the gaffer as to why he does it that way, you can't help but be enthusiastic with it. It's not the end article. We're talking about a high press, something that's very demanding on players. The fitness levels haven't been there years gone by. You're also talking with a standard of players that some fans on this planet deem a sort of lower level. So it takes a bit of time. A manager came in late, but he's, with what he's got, with what he's doing, I think we're doing very well.
I think so as well. It's just the fact that our team's so young, and I'm not complaining. I'm just so shocked by how young he went. Everyone's been saying for ages, play the youth, play the youth, play the youth, and we have introduced one or two. I mean, Kean Ashford, Rubin Colwill, Isaac Davis. These players were introduced, albeit I feel like Rubin Colwill, well, he had some sort of injuries in the past, but again, we didn't really use that much. And again, it's youth academy now is becoming an essential part of Cardiff City, and I love that because you had teams before like Southampton and Sunderland were two big examples, teams who had the Premier League, and on the back of selling youth talent, or even just if they were lucky enough to keep their youth talent. And there were two very successful teams there. We won't talk about the Sunderland years where they dropped down, but in a way, they kind of rebuilt their club based on the youth academy. And again, whether that means selling the players on to other clubs, sometimes football is just football and you have to do that. And it's very interesting and intriguing to see that, how BBM was so calm and so not hungry to sort of sell anyone. He said, we have no need to sell any players, or some version that was said. And I was thinking that's interesting because we got some players who have bids worth of 10+ million on them, just making up a number. But in that region, I'm thinking how are we turning down these offers? And you think that these offers that we're getting up, the players are scoring 20 goals a season, at least. And I just think that the fact we're turning down some of these offers, or have done, or there's rumours of, it shows we have a clear plan and we're not sticking around in League One for long.
And further to that point as well is that there has to be a plan. There has to be a way of progression, and we've seen it from that lot down the road. They built year upon year. Cardiff City are now building these foundations, and it would have been easy enough to loan out some of these younger players. But the reality is that our next generation, and it's taught in the academies and all the lower levels to play a certain way, a certain type of style, and when they walk into that first team, that they're able to play it. Probably our first team is the hardest level because players have played under many managers and different styles. They've had to learn that style. If you look at some of the younger players, they're a lot more comfortable, the Lawlors, etc., in playing that way. Mm-hmm. And when these sort of probably more experienced players in the first team were able to finally grasp it, I think, we're going to be a team that whoever we start to put in at, what level are going to be able to just sort of step in and just play that role efficiently. And I think it's going to take a period of 7 months, but at that level, and if we can achieve a promotion in the first year while going through that, next year is going to be a great year for us.
Oh yeah,
You look at
Go
the
on.
other clubs, the Wrexhams, the Birmingham Cities, that have invested astronomical sums of money to try and buy their way up there. And yet, for the first time, and when have I heard Cardiff City fans saying, actually, we're doing it the right way, investing in youth, in the next generation, actually being able to sell players for decent money as opposed to, getting rid of them for pennies under the sort of previous regimes, Teams like Birmingham and Wrexham will eventually be caught out for the, FFP, stuff like that. But we're actually in a strong position on and off the pitch. So I think the business model, I think the footballing model, I think everything that we're doing is very good. And then you look at like the atmosphere, the fans, the players, and it's never been this so aligned for a very, very long time. And I think it's great just to be part of at the moment. So
yeah, very, very fascinating points. I get really sort of like into this kind of stuff of like it's more than just the football kind of side. 'Cause I'm big on club management kind of stuff. I am a coach myself in basketball. I there's so much as part of like develop any kind of sports team or club. There's so much more than just the ability of the players and everything, and just getting fit for each game and training. There's so much more depth to it, and my players will never understand that unless they become a coach themselves. And look, like, but BBM was appointed as head coach, right? He wasn't appointed as first team manager, or at least the wording of it at the time was, the new head coach. And I thought that was a bit interesting. And again, it's just, even when we appointed him, it was just so out of the blue, and it almost seemed too smart of us to appoint him. I know we discussed this loads at the beginning of the season and just how like different it was, but that was the first kind of signal for change. I genuinely thought we were going to go with a proven League One manager, which again, excuse me, there's nothing wrong with. I thought we were going to get someone who had loads of, at least a few promotions under his belt. And, we haven't, but we've gone for someone who's very, I don't want to say too out of the box, but we've gone with someone who has a specific focus, which is the youth. I just think that it's just such a smart idea now. And I think that, look, I really pray and hope that Cardiff City do go up this season. I think it would, from the start we've had, at least so far, I can say, if we continue like this, even if we pick up a few losses on the bounce, I think it's still deserved, especially with how young our squad is. But even if we don't go straight back up, and again, it would kind of suck to miss out on that. But like, if we have to sell some youth players, then I don't know if they'll go for cheap, because we started to negotiate contracts with players to stay on there. And I can't see, again, I don't know anything that goes on behind the club, not very much anyway. But I can't see a world in which we don't at least make the playoffs this season, providing that we don't get loads of injuries. And again, we haven't added more than 3 players to the squad, but we've let go so many, and it shows that he really is about adding quality and not just quantity. I mean, what did we do a couple of seasons ago? We signed like 18, 19 players. No wonder we almost got relegated, because nobody knew each other. And yeah.
Cardiff City have been very, very thoughtful. They've been diligent. They're doing everything professionally is probably the best way to describe it. They've made emendations to the way that things were being leaked. The things that were sort of seen leaking from changing rooms, transfers, etc. And it's a fresh start. The club, for all the negativity that Ken Chu and Mehmet get, they have to take a bit of credit for what's going on this season. They're part of the group that are there, and a lot of it stems from Brian, but everything's very efficiently running smoothly, isn't it? Nothing comes out, nothing's leaked. The team look to be buying into everything that's being said. The club's, you haven't got players coming out saying Vincent's telling goalkeepers to shoot, There's a lot of positivity at the moment, and I think what excites me about that is I used to worry if bids came in for players. But when, we all sort of, when Mehmet says he's no players for sale, you have that bit of, do I believe him, do I not? But you know what? They've proven that they're actually being honest. And now I start to believe that when bids are coming in January, will they actually get rid of these players? Actually, they'll probably invest now. The club actually trust Brian to do what Brian's doing now, and also trust the academy to do what they're doing. So it's all positive at the moment, irrelevant of the recent results.
Yeah, no, I think it is important to sort of remind people where we're at right now. I memean, Christ, if we went into the season with last year's squad, I think we'll be looking for mid-table mediocrity. I'm not even kidding. Like, I mean, I would partly blame to individual players, I think, I think you had a lot of players there last season. They didn't really care. Like they don't know what it meant to play for Cardiff City. And I mean that with the greatest respects. I mean, some of them hadn't played football or seemed like they hadn't played football in God knows how long. I understand that. And I was really excited about a lot of the names that came in. And to those that stuck around now, I mean, the likes of Willock and Chambers who have stuck around from last season. And yes, they're being grilled to a big extent. But I got to say, recent games, especially Chambers as well, we're seeing a lot more of the Chambers I thought we would get at championship level when we signed him. And he was probably one of my top two really excited signings because he's one of the players, one of the player names that I really knew, as play for Arsenal, for Fulham, Aston Villa, and it's like, oh my god, we signed him, and it's like I felt like we waited so long, and finally, players like Willock as well, they're finally finding their feet. And yes, it's taken a long time, but I'm just relieved in a way that I feel like the influence of the manager and the squad is finally coming to play. And it's just nice to see that it doesn't seem to be, touch wood, like a toxic atmosphere. Because last season, or for even season before, it just seemed like there were players that had their own groups that they would hang around. And you could see there's a bit of discontent in the squad. I mean, it was obvious. I don't know to what extent, but it just seems like even though we've all lost as one team. And when we win, all the team gets the credit. It's not singular players. I'm really happy that Robinson as well is buying into this. I genuinely thought he would have gone 2 seasons ago, really. But the fact that he's playing League One football now and he seems to be loving playing for the current team. I mean, he's someone who I thought, would be gone well before we kept hold of people like him, like Salech. Yeah, it don't feel real at the moment. But again, we've still got a long way to go, albeit.
Yeah, for me, it was the respect of the badge, it was the respect of the fans, and the respect of the manager last year. I think that's where certain players let us down. How can you win a battle on the pitch when you're battling your own changing rooms? And that's what really upset me last year. But this year, to be fair, players are here not because of their wage packets. They're here because they want to be here. They want to be part of Brian's project. They want to represent Cardiff City. And that's what I really like. After the games when the players are actually wanting to interact. Years gone by, it would be players just getting in their cars and disappearing. There's a real togetherness at Cardiff, and that's the bit that I like. I'd happily stay in League One for a few years. If we could get promoted but stay down. Because I'm really enjoying it. And it's everything that Cardiff City should be.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
No. So I was just saying what the fans deserve. To be fair.
Oh, right. I'll just say, yeah, it's nice we got that. I know we're in a lower league, but we are winning games now, and we are creating chances. And now we're being really picky, saying, "Oh, we're not being clinical enough." And yet, we're still winning games, and it seems almost hypocritical now that we always have something to be thinking about. But it's a rebuild thing. It's going to take a while. But at times I do think, just have a go. Just honestly, I want to see us play without fear, and I still think we're a little bit reluctant. I'm sure it will come again. I think we got a thick enough squad, a strong enough squad now. I won't say we got enough leaders, but we got enough people who've played at a tough enough level to sort of help the others through and provide. And again, even if we get a few injured players, there's a bunch of academy players who are dying to get in the first team. And like we've been proven with the other people, it's shown that they can perform. Again, they will make mistakes, but it shows that our conveyor belt of youth players is promising.
You're absolutely right. And you're saying that, you're a young 17, 18, 19-year-old, making your first team debut for Cardiff City, the biggest club in League One and potentially one of the biggest clubs in the Championship. Our attendances are bigger than some of the Championship teams. And making a debut in the CCS, that's a really pressured environment. I don't think, we sometimes really sort of reflect on what they must be going through, ability-wise, they've got it, but to deal with that sort of pressure is also a pressure of actually going for promotion, an expectation. A coach has been at Man City and has trained with some of the best players on the planet, I can tell you now, around Cardiff, there is a level of expectation, and you listen to Brian in his press conference saying exactly the same thing. You're there on merit, irrelevant of your age. You can see that from Robbo's recent, training grounds and the conversations regarding his effort. So
yeah, honestly, I mean, It's summed it up perfectly. I mean, honestly, it's nice to know you got. I call it the conveyor belt of youth players, or just of depth. Like, but yeah, no, I am still excited, and it's talking about this has given me a bit of a uplift and boost. And look, obviously, I want us to beat Leyton Orient, and we're just going to go into a preview in a second. But before we do, obviously, I'll get into more of your comments. Going to race through. If you want your comment to be guaranteed to be read out, by the way, you can always leave a super chat. It's not a requirement, but we really do appreciate it. It does really help the channel out as well for anything you contribute, even just become a member, or even just watching and tuning into the videos. But before we do that, whilst we have some time, I'm going to go to a quick word from Simon.
This episode of Cardiff City World is brought to you by Koroma, the proud sponsor of the TalkSport Fan Network, here for all kinds of fans. For the armchair experts, whether you're constantly negative, overly positive, or maybe even the instant over-the-top reaction social media guy or girl, for the football fashionistas still clinging to the legendary terrace fashion of yesteryear, or the best retro gear from Michael Thorne, the nostalgia merchants, dreaming of the old lady Ninian Park, or still celebrating Campbell's goal in the Millennium Stadium, whatever kind of fan you are, with Coral's free-to-play reward shaker, with a guaranteed daily reward or offer throughout the season, simply shake your phone to win. Over 18s only, maximum one reward or offer per player per day, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Reward restrictions and requirements and other T's and C's apply. For more information on safer gambling, visit gambleaware.org.
All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, Aaron, I'm going to throw both of us on the spot a little bit, do a little bit of quick fire comments. Okay. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get everyone's comments up because we have so many, and I appreciate you all with your lovely comments. I'll try and get everyone up at least once, and we're going to go through it. So yeah, I'm just going to quick fire a few questions, see what you think about it. And yeah, we'll just do a bunch of them now. Let's go. Let's have a look here. Who we got? Geraint, how are you doing, mate? Stop trying to walk the ball into the net. Be a start. What do you think?
I agree with an element of the overplaying in the final third. They're trying to create overloads, but they are starting to shoot more than they have previously, to be fair.
Yeah, it's coming. We are cooking, but yeah, I do agree. It's frustrating to watch, isn't it not?
There was an emphasis on the training ground video recently. Well, was it yesterday of the shooting? I think that was a Sunday.
Oh yeah, it was just subtly mentioned, just a compilation of just players shooting. Alex Robertson doing rainbow flicks, and
yeah.
After Morages, nice to see you again. I don't believe we have an out-and-out goal threat. We have good strikers, but no one that the opposition fear or fans stand to their feet when they have the ball. I disagree with that, honestly, because I think we do have the players. It's just because they haven't started with a bang. But I think as the season progresses, in my opinion, like Yousef, Salech, Callum Robinson, Rubin Colwill. I think Rubin Colwill has been the big name in League One. I almost said Championship then, Christ. But I genuinely think Rubin Colwill, Joel Colwill, those two names have been big mentions. And even Nathan Trott, if I'm being honest. But what do you think on that?
I just think if we had a prime chopper up front, he's probably on about 8 or 9 goals already.
Yeah, but
I think
it would be nice.
You're absolutely right. I think it's just we just need somebody converting, don't we? But we're talking about two different strikers, two different sort of skill sets.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, it is different skill sets. It's a different ball game. We are adjusting to it, but I think with time, I think the fear factor will come, and it'll be a lot more exciting when players get on the ball. I still think it's exciting now, especially Joel Colwill. I'm a big fan of him. The amount of penalties he should have got as well. There should be a stat for penalty chance creation, and he would be up there by at least 12 a game, like 12.4 penalties created a game, which didn't get called because oh my god, man. Anyway, yeah, it's something like whatever version of XG it is. Let's go, Paul. Doesn't seem BBM changed style of formation. Just needs a few tweaks because we are creating enough chances. Just not clinical inside the box. We have to be testing opposition keepers more. Yeah, clinical seems to be the word of the week, doesn't it?
What's very interesting this week is Brian's come out and said that Richie Wellens is the best manager in the league by far. So really interested to see what his tactical approach will be against this.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he is I do rate him, to be fair. He's a good manager. I mean, Leyton Orient are not saying they're a terrible team, but I mean, he's got a tune out of them, hasn't he? So, so it's unfortunate they didn't get promoted. It was the finals, playoff finals, wasn't it? They got to, and they lost to Charlton, was it? I think it was. Oh,
yes.
God, I think so. I'm pretty sure, yeah. JT says, halftime oranges is your fault. You bragged you win 6-0 versus Burton on Saturday. Yeah, all blame halftime oranges. Why not?
You can get one.
Steve, we'll bounce back tomorrow. Going to be very windy though. I hope the weather don't affect our style. I mean, we'll all be saying that the wind was biased and it was blowing the ball into our own net. I'm sure we'll all be saying that, but I don't know. I hate it when you have like severe weather things affecting the game, because we're just going to ride or die on that condition.
As long as we're attacking the Canton stand second half, I'm happy.
That's fine, yeah. Do you think they were overworked in the gym, working strength conditioning, doing the international break? That was for John. Sorry, I shouldn't have read that. Wasn't for me. My bad. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so. I think BBM's smart with how hard to push them. I think he would know like straight away. Like he's been very good with Isaac Davis, for example, and Alex Robertson about making sure they are 100% ready and before putting them on the pitch. Same with Omari Kellerman. I mean, he hasn't just been chucked in the side, has he? So.
Yeah, and also, you got players like Rubin that weren't playing every game last year. We're playing 3 games in a week, so there's going to be fatage. There's going to be sort of transition. There's a lot going on that is different. How many of those youngsters you have to. People think about managing the minutes of the older player, but the younger players need just as managed as well. They're growing through development phases.
Oh yeah, sure. I just reading some of them. I realised we got tons of comments that all from John, but there's no problem because we'll go through them. I appreciate you. God, John, I didn't know you were writing an essay, but I appreciate the engagement, man. It's really helpful. But I got an interesting one for Steve. This channel puts the club under magnifying glass. Lots of other channels just gloss over things. That's a really interesting point, because I tell you what, I mean, no, it's nice. I think, look, other players or former players or people affiliated with the club at some point in time, I'm just trying to be as vague as possible here. I feel like if they didn't want to pay attention to the channel, they didn't have to. But I think it's interesting how people do watch the content, because I know players from any club watch content that their fans create. They just can't comment on it, so you just assume they don't watch it. But I think it's an interesting analogy to say, like, put it under magnifying glass. I think last season, I mean, we ripped into the club. Let's be honest. All the hosts and all the comments getting relegated. We didn't hold back, and now I don't know to what extent, if any, if that influenced the club at all, but. I mean, you can't ignore the criticism from the fans, even in the stadium, and just look at the numbers in general. That had to be like, that would have to signal a change, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what we try and do is we try and give fans honest opinions. We don't water things down. We don't hide behind things. But we're not overcritical as well. We're not here to sort of slag players off, slag the club off. We're trying to grow. We try to support. We try to. We also offer ourselves to the club to be able to help with the fan base, etc. So I can tell you it's watched by the club positively. I can tell you that players positively watch these shows, and I can also tell you ex-pros are asking to come on the shows. So I think we're doing something right. But no, it's about giving fans what they want. There's nothing worse than watching Sky Sports, is there? And almost sort of scripted what to say.
Teleprompters galore. Literally, I find it's just like that. Like I know it's Sky Sports is focus on English football, and like you have like the news going across the bottom. You have like a giant 2/3 of the screen then, which is like Harry Kane like warming up for England, and then you have like a tiny bit in the corner, but like, oh, by the way, Wales beat like Slovakia or something, and it's like moving on. Yeah, Sky Sports # not sponsored, never want to be. Thank you. I'm not joking. I'm not gonna close my doors too quickly, but no, I think I just love to be a part of this, right? And when I messaged Matt to appear on the show first, I just saw this thing was going place, and I want to be a part of it. And I love giving my opinions on things as well. I think whilst we don't sort of like shame the players as such. I think, as hosts as well and commenters on the channel, we can dig in and be quite harsh to certain players. And look, I think criticism is rightly so, but it's always going to be amplified on a day of a game. So if we've lost the game and it's because someone scored an own goal or they cost us the chance, you're going to get in the heat moment. And again, that's why Sai says he doesn't like to record podcasts on the day of a loss that we have. And I completely get why, because it's the heat of moment. And with the fans, you're going to get the really passionate and you're also going to get the really critical. There isn't much in between. And especially if you had a few pints of Carlin, inside joke if anyone knows, then people are going to give their raw, honest perspective. And I think as hosts, we kind of got to I don't want to say water down, but we got to kind of try and be critical, but also professional in terms of how we address it and things, especially now that lots of people do watch our content. But no, I think we all I like to think we were fairly fair in terms of our criticism and praise.
And so there's nothing better than the club that we love being able to talk about it with like-minded people, 100%. My missus is fed up of me talking about Cardiff City. It's my way of life. I can come on to shows like this and everybody listens, everybody shares comments, we all question, and it makes me feel better about myself, Oh,
yeah.
And if we have a bad day and we've lost the game, at least I know that we're united and there's a load of us feeling shit. If we have a great time, some of the away days, some of the limbs I've been part of, some of the greatest moments next to my children being born have been in that stadium,
Oh, that's good. But my missus doesn't really care about what I say, mainly because she doesn't exist. But moving on. Anyway, Jonathan says, if we're going to be sloppy and head on holiday while others are still in training and playing, then our performances will become sloppy compared to theirs as well. Others didn't switch off. I need to read that again because I just stormed through that then. Being sloppy and head on holiday. I know. I think I understand because of past trauma of what happened with Cardiff and even other clubs, really. I mean, I don't think we're going to pull a Man United. Sai's going to kill me for that reference. But I don't think all the players are going to be jumping on their Xbox playing Fortnite and just bunking off training. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're prone to. Pardon?
It's medically driven. So Brian spoke about this during the international break, that it came at the right time because the stats and what the medics were advising was about player burnout and risk of injury, etc. It's very different because any of the manager I've sort of really listened to has said get them in and sort of drill them and that through the sort of international break. It's very interesting because 4 points since the international break out of 14. Oh, is it 12? Sorry, doesn't look great, does it? So, we'd probably disagree with his comment, but, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. There's such an opinion on that at the moment.
Yeah, I think it is such an intense style of football, especially for young players we play. And I think that's why it kind of suits them, is because they've got those bags of energy, but they also don't have a history of injuries. So they don't. A lot of I'm assuming the medical staff have got tons of info on every single player and such detail, information. But they're such an early point in their career, they haven't had, not many players, should I say, have had that one repetitive injury as such. I mean, some players already do now because of how much football they're playing at such a young age. But someone who's 26 years old, who is probably entering or in the middle of his prime, you would say for most players, the medical staff, I'm sure they got a history of okay, he usually suffers with this. We have to work on him with this so he doesn't get a knee injury or a specific thing. Whereas young players, it's still all to play for. They still got so much of a career. They haven't had that many injuries that kept them out for a full season yet. I mean, Isaac Davis might be the rare exception, I suppose. But, it's still they don't know what they could be dealing with yet, I suppose. It's they got so much bags of energy. They're not really thinking about taking it easy. But then obviously then comes every time we seem to get in great form, or players like NG now. I heard he took a knock or something not to come off against Burton, was it?
So I was talking to an ex-Premiership footballer. I won't name the name, but we were talking about injuries and mental health, and this was last week. And he spoke about his career, and he said when he got to around 25 years old, he never played a game that past point of his career 100%. He said he was always maybe 80 or 90% because his body, and just sort of adding context to what you were saying about the injuries started to settle in. It was not just that; it was the well-being element. It was his body starting to realise that he couldn't do what he wanted to do anymore, and that's mad to think at 25 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 23
about
now.
15 years ago he played, but it sort of shows that, we expect players to be running 100%, running through walls, but they're human beings, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, personally, injury-wise, what's happened on the training ground, what the gaffer's told them to do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a game FIFA, is it?
No. It's even, I think you might have mentioned it before, just saying about when players come back, really pacey players come back from injuries relating to, I don't know, any kind of lower half injury, right, a body part. It's like learning how to run in a certain way that doesn't get them injured in the same way. Learning how to run again, that's so specific. And again, that, that knocks a yard of pace off players. And some players come back and they're just not they're not the same. I'm assuming that Isaac Davis, he was rapid fast before, and he still is now. But I can tell he's still not. I think he's bulked up a bit. To be fair, he's got a lot stronger for such. He's not a massive lad. But these players, if they've gone through these career alternate injuries, it is gonna change how they have to play.
It's some days have gone by when it would be a manager making a decision. Now you've got the medical team deciding how much a player can play and at what point a player can run and not run, and it's all driven by stats. It's an absolute crazy thing, But footballing.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, then I just want to go to a quick preview for Leyton Orient. Let's have a look, see if we can find the form. Where are they currently at? Leyton Orient. Oh my God, they're actually 17th in the table currently, just after a back off. A win, loss, and a draw. Recently a loss against... Oh, they lost 1-0 to Northampton at home. So, I mean, well, you can chuck form out the window, I guess. It doesn't matter. Every game's going to be different, and you have to sort of take it a game at a time. But, the record hasn't been amazing at the start of the season, despite their success last season. I mean, they've played 10 games, same as us now. What do you reckon? Tough test? I mean, I suppose no game's going to be exactly easy, is it?
No, not at all. They're a well-drilled team, aren't they? Richie Wellens has got them playing well. They've got a few key players that sort of keep them going. I think Charlie Kelman's been their sort of better forward up front, keep people busy. It's an interesting one because I think if we get the result, Brian will probably take a few stars from that, knowing he's probably beat one of the better established managers in the league. But, I think it's got to be positive. It's got to be on the front foot. It's got to be aggressive. It's got to be everything that we've asked that hasn't happened the past week, and I think probably the manager's asked. But, we haven't had the luck the past couple of games with our laws of averages say the luck's going to change, doesn't it?
Yeah, sod's law, innit? It's all it is. But I feel like it's going to be one of the, similar to the Stockport County game in terms of, they're on that level of, I feel like they got quite an underrated manager who just knows, the players he's working with. But I can't lie and say I know a lot about Leyton Orient. I think I predicted them quite high up in my table this season. So, yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, there's been loads of surprise teams so far, like Bradford. I mean, could they get off to much of a better start? I mean, no one really expected them to hit the highs they're running right now. I did expect Lincoln to be up there, didn't for Stevenage, but, apart from that, there's not many teams at the moment that I'd say I worry about as such. This game more so. If anything, I worry more about the bottom side teams right now because it seems like those are the ones we lose it against or struggling. But it's home game as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Bradford didn't look great the other night as well. I watched that game and they were lucky to points. I'm not really worried about them.
Yeah, no, I think and they've played a game more than everyone else. So again, we've got still a lot of teams got a game in hand. Barnsley and Reading have got and Burton have still got 2 games in hand to play as well. So it's all to play for, and I don't know. I'm scared to make predictions now. I reckon. I'll play safe. I'll go for a draw. I'll say a 1-1 draw. I'd just be boring with it. I feel like it'd be similar to Stockport. I don't know. I'm sure we'll create more chances again. I would like to think that we would convert a lot more. I think we don't need to change anything drastically. I just think we need just to be a bit more brave in the box, especially, and just if it's on, whip the cross in. There's going to be times where we want to kind of pass it around and, you know, wait for that opening. And yeah, that's great. But at the start of the game, you really want to get the home fans excited, really. You want to play some attacking football. And, you know, I get it. I get it. It's patient and it is coming together. It's miles better than what we've seen last 2 seasons. Excuse me. But I do think at some point you just got to go all gung-ho for a period of the game just to see what we can actually do, create some chaos in the box. But that's just the way I see it.
Very positive. I think it's going to be probably a 3-1. I do genuinely believe, I think Salech and Rubin are going to get a goal. With this weather, I think it's a wet pitch and it's everything that Cardiff City need. Quick, fast tempo, wet game. Plenty of shots at goal. You know.
We'll see what happens. But thank you all for joining and tuning in tonight. Not being ideal weather to record, especially not the best. But thank you very much, Aaron, for joining me as co-host again. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, Aaron. Cheers, everyone else.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.